Well, 7:01, I call to order a regular meeting of the City of Helotes Economic Development Corporation. It is Wednesday, January the 15th. So we'll first open up with the citizens be heard, and we actually do have a citizen to be heard signed up, which is exciting because it's not very often that we get it. So Ashley Castillo, if you are here, come on up and state your name and your address. And usually the citizens be heard is a 3-minute time limit, but there's sometimes that we can go longer depending on the content. So feel free.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ashley Castillo, and I'm here as a parent and business leader to introduce the Soraya Sports Complex, a project inspired by challenges my family and so many have faced here in Helotes and the surrounding areas. My daughter plays volleyball, and like many parents, I've struggled to find court space. Practices are late, tournaments are far away. It's kind of driving. There's nothing here locally, and kids often are turned away because spaces fill up quickly. Or there are gyms that are just towards one youth center, so it's not open to everyone. And this isn't just about volleyball. It's a challenge across multiple sports. That's when I decided to create a solution, one that benefits not just my family, but the entire community. The Soraya Sports Complex will be a state-of-the-art facility designed to serve Helotes with 6 volleyball courts, 2 full-size basketball courts, 4 pickleball courts to meet the growing demand, a shared indoor space for TrackMan golf simulators and batting cages, catering for both golfers and baseball enthusiasts, a small fitness gym and studio area for yoga, Pilates, and group classes, a lounge area with TVs and event space, and a dedicated food truck zone, creating a friendly family gathering with a small outdoor playground area as well. An outdoor walking trail for wellness and recreation. And in the future, we hope to build a soccer field as well to host regional tournaments and to help grow with Helotes needs. This project will bring significant benefits to our city. Number 1 will be job creation. Job creation, it will create 60 to 80 jobs during construction and 50 to 70 permanent positions once operational, including roles for coaches, trainers, cafe staff, janitorial staff, event coordinators, and maintenance personnel. We'll also provide opportunities for referees, local vendors, and seasonal workers. Economic impact. The facility is projected to generate over 1.5 million annually in revenue. Each tournament is expected to attract 200 to 300 visitors, driving an additional 50 to 75,000 in spending per event at local restaurants, gas stations, and nearby local shops. Our community partnerships. We plan to partner with local schools, leagues, and businesses to maximize the facility's use, offering discounted rentals and sponsorship opportunities for businesses and to help promote them on the courts as well. Safety and well-being will also be top priority. We'll partner with medical personnel to provide an on-site support during tournaments and events, ensuring quick responses to any injuries. As we know, everyone could get hurt playing some kind of sport, right? So the facility will be fully ADA compliant with accessible entrances, ample parking, and secure, well-lit spaces. Sustainability is another key focus with plans for LED lighting and water-saving fixtures, and exploring solar energy options to minimize our environmental impact. But this complex is about more than just numbers. It's about creating opportunities for kids to play, to grow, and thrive in the community locally. It's about providing families with a safe and welcoming space to connect and create memories. And it's about helping Helotes stand out as a community that it invests in its future. The Soraya Sports Complex is for Helotes, for the families, the businesses, and the generations to come. With your support, we can make this vision a reality. Thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to answering any questions and bringing this to life.
Awesome. I guess the biggest question, where is it at?
So we're actually not too far from here. Would be located right here off of Leslie Road, across the street from O'Connor, right next to the Helotes Corneyville and the fairgrounds right there. And we're looking at 6.7 acres, maybe a little bit more is where it would be.
Next to Casa Helotes or towards the Walmart side?
Right next to and behind the Tractor Supply.
Okay. Another track. Good. Thank you very much for coming. Pretty excited about it. Right now we are in search of a director that we'll hopefully have one in place within the next week or next month. Sorry. Next week would be nice, but for now, a good point of contact is Mr. Henry Hayes, our city administrator. He's up to verse on what we can do as an EDC to possibly help support the project. So please talk to Henry and get information as we get a new director. I'm sure that'll be somebody you can work with closely as well.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Thank you, Blaine. Yeah. Thank you, Henry. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Exciting. All right. So with that, that is our only signed up citizen to be heard. So we will now close open session and we'll move on to our consent agenda. So the only item we have on consent agenda is approval of our HEDC fiscal year ending 2025 revenue and expense report, because we did not have any, did not have a meeting last month. So there's no minutes to approve on it. So with that, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the revenue and expense report.
So moved.
Okay. I have a second.
Second.
All right. We have motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. So we'll move on to our committee reports. As of right now, we have 5 standing committees dealing with different, sometimes special projects that we have specifically with the EDC. I will speak from the executive committee itself. As we all know, last month was December, and I think we're all kind of getting over our holiday hangover. So we did not have a meeting on the executive committee. So I'll move on to finance. Did the finance committee meet this month?
We've not.
Okay, so that's easy. So we'll move on to governance committee. Any updates from governance?
Nothing new.
Okay. Building evaluation committee. This was specifically for the building of the business and visitor center, which is now up and running, which is great. So this may be a committee as we're kind of finishing out that project with all the final details. That committee will probably be dissolving here in the near future. But just in case, did we have anything update on the building evaluation? Okay. Last, we have the community enhancement committee. This one specifically dealing with any type of community enhancement project, such as the Old Town Circle art project that hopefully y'all have all seen by now. But there's other items that we're also dealing with a community enhancement. And from my end, I know we did not meet from last month. So hopefully have an update on that specifically as it relates to the Helotes golf and fitness park. But as of right now, no updates from that committee. So that one's an easy one to go through, and we'll move out of our committee reports and we'll move on to items for individual consideration. So we'll move on to item number 5. So we have discussion of and action on approval of an application made by Flower Eye Care to qualify for a grant reimbursement request under the Retailer and Commercial Tenant Improvement Incentive Program. So in your packages, and so you'll know, we have 2 new members on our board that also serve as city council members, which is great because they are filling a dire need that we had for vacant positions while we're looking to fill that. So it's great because a lot of this moves in sync with city council. A lot of items that come through here come through council. So it's also it's a good way for us to have cohesion on those items. So just a quick update for y'all. So y'all are familiar. We have the Retail and Commercial Tenant Improvement Incentive Program specifically for improvements for space that you are leasing. And if you look in your package, there's an evaluation process that this is a simplified evaluation process that's broken out into a scoring system. The scoring system has the different items that you see there. This is the first one that we've had come through since the time, but we do not have an executive director. So we're kind of seeing this and getting evaluated here on the fly. So this is always going to be fun. But it's also a good opportunity for us to kind of talk through the items and so you all know specifically what we're looking at whenever one of these applications comes through. So one of the big items that we have here is, does the project target businesses sought? Oh, sorry, I guess Robert's Rule of Orders. In order for us to start talking about it, we're gonna have to open it up for discussion. So this moves a lot, just like council. It's a discussion of and action on at the same time. The way this is written is discussion of an action on approval, which would need a motion and a second to open it up for discussion. If for some reason during the process, if there's other questions that come up that maybe that we need to either table it, or even if it needs to move to a disapproval, you have the opportunity to amend that motion. So just because it gets opened with approval doesn't mean that's the final action. It's just a way for us to start discussing. So with that in mind, I will now entertain a motion for discussion of an action on approval of the application by Flower Eye Care.
I'd like to make a motion to postpone discussion of this item indefinitely until we have more complete information. One of the key pieces that's missing from this packet is a contract or performance agreement.
Okay.
That is required under Chapter 501 of the Texas Local Government Code. I just want to turn your attention to the contract that would need to be a part of the application for consideration. Some of the key information that is required by the local government code is a schedule of additional payroll jobs to be created or retained, the capital investment made by the business. But one of the most critical pieces of information is the terms for repayment of the EDC's investment if the business fails to meet the performance requirements specified in the agreement. And performance requirements would be tied to payment of the grant. So rather than one lump sum, the grant would be divided in either 2 or 3 parts, depending on the number of performance goals that have been agreed to between the EDC and the business. Examples of performance goals might be the number of employees hired by specific dates over a 3 to 5 year period, or the amount of sales tax achieved over a 5 to 10 year period. But we would need to have that contract as part of this application, because it does require the board's approval as well as approval from our governing authority.
Okay. I will be honest. So this is the first time this has been brought. So it doesn't mean that it can't be done. We're just going to have to really understand what type of performance agreements that we're going to have. Because right now, the way that at least the program has been run is the improvements have to be complete, right? Which is, I think, one of the big performance agreements, or one of the big performance items is that whatever is proposing to be spent has to be shown. So I do think understanding though timing wise on it, I think is a good point. So
point of order for me.
Yeah.
We know that the processes that have been going on, I will say that in my review and in my preparation for this item, I also addressed the previous incentive that was given.
Okay.
And I did find that there was an agreement associated, not necessarily at the same time as the item was approved. And so that is part of the reason why I did not actually front load that. It would have actually created the gap. So looking at the process that was done previously, my anticipation was if it got approved,
right,
we would move towards that. However, I acknowledge the statements and the process that I am familiar with from prior EDC.
Okay. So I guess that the question then is does the agreement need to come with the approval from the board? Does the agreement need to be, I guess, hashed out before it can come before the board? Or is it we approve it in concept and then the agreement is really at the point that it gets executed, I guess, for lack of better words?
So perhaps if the board is looking to create and craft the details of the agreement, I believe that would likely be done in an executive session. That way, as far as the professional staff and the legal team would have an opportunity to craft that, finalize that document in accordance with the board's desires.
Okay. Okay. So I'm just trying to think of the process on this, because obviously I think the easy thing to look at is the full-time employees, right? And it's because it's part of the scoring system. So in the scoring system of saying, all right, this is how it scores out to for the points to avoid the dollars per square foot. That scoring is directly tied to some of these performance goals, right? Of what's in the application. So, I guess from your side, Henry, how would you suggest we do this? Because this is going to be new for us in the process. What's your suggestion?
So I actually agree with board member McGowan in that if the board wants to craft that document in advance, that way all of the things are addressed. Timing impact would be we would receive, the professional staff would receive the application as it's listed on the website. I would bring it, or this position would bring it to the board in executive session, have discussions, and it could also have presentation in open session from the applicant.
Okay.
And then, completing whatever actions in whatever manner of time that it requires by sorting out the details of the performance agreement. I have seen that. As you know, I have recently stepped down from a previous EDC board, and that is a common way to go about.
Okay.
Are we talking about overhauling the entire grant program though, just for the purpose of implementing more performance-based expectations for the grant time, which is fine. I just want to make sure I understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, I don't think it's a complete overhaul. It's just it's a critical document that has to be included.
Sure.
All performance agreements are actually filed with the Texas Comptroller's Office. There's a searchable database by city or by business. It's the contract that would be part of the application would just give us more information to decide on the specific amount of the grant. If a business, for example, wasn't able to provide any projected sales tax revenue figures, that might affect our decision. So having, and the goals, it's not necessarily, a lengthy process. It's agreeing on what are 2 or 3 maybe key goals to have, and then the payment of that grant or a portion of that payment is dependent on those goals being achieved. And if a business fails to achieve those goals, then the EDC has the authority to either withhold or reduce a future payment.
So if I may, an example would be if there was an incentive that was paid, whatever the agreed amount is, and let's say that is a 5-year incentive payment back to that organization. So it will be a certain percentage year 1 at the end of year 1 based on meeting the pre-described markers. Year 2 would be a certain percentage, year 3, year 4, and then year 5 based on. Now, if there is a miss of the performance factors, then that year, depending on how it's written, either that year or again, it could be put other pieces of that agreement in jeopardy.
Okay.
I'm definitely on board with making sure our grant programs are fully compliant.
Right.
So I mean, it's a little bit of flux, obviously, for the organization at the moment. So I don't know. Are we allowed to just talk right now? I don't know if you need.
Yeah, we're in.
The only thing that I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's actually a good question. Well, I guess because since the motion is for basically tabling it, I think we can still have discussion based on that tabling.
You need a second to discuss.
Yeah, let's do that, Austin, just to be sure.
I'll second the idea of tabling it so we could talk about it more.
Okay.
We're not voting on tabling it right now.
Right. We're not voting right now. Right. Or not right.
Just so
we
we
can discuss and then we can vote at the end.
And it actually, we're postponing. If we table it, we can't have discussion.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm saying postponing indefinitely, and
Okay.
that doesn't mean forever. It's to get this document in place as soon as possible,
Okay.
so that we can have a discussion at hopefully the next meeting.
Okay.
I'm definitely on board with talking about this more for sure. The only thing I would say is while I am equally passionate about making sure that our grant program is fully compliant, I'm also equally passionate about local business owners having access to grants that are helpful for them. So I don't want to be dismissive if you are here, if somebody's here from the business and you can't. So I don't know if we can still hear them out while they're here, just so as to not, I don't know what the rules are there.
My question on this would be, the way the grant's currently written, they can go ahead and start construction once everything was turned in. The way it's currently been written. Once the whole application was turned in, they could start construction and there was not a delay for them to be able to start the construction. But there is no guarantee. There was no guarantee that it was going to be approved if they started the construction ahead of time.
Right.
Because when this grant was originally done, they could not even start until it was approved.
Right.
And then we changed it to where they could start construction, and then the possibility that they may not be reimbursed if we did not approve it. I'm just wondering, has this project been started yet?
We do have the applicant present. If you would like.
Sure. Coming up, please. Yeah, and knowing about the timing is really important for us on this too, because I'm with Austin on it. You gotta state your name and address.
That's all right. Hello, board members, council members. I'm Jeremiah. I live at 10526 Appaloosa Bay. My business will be hopefully 12340 Suite 106 at the Hill Countries Crossing, the second location right across from Cedar Springs, the urgent care, and then the veterinary office for everything. So while I apologize that we do not have this form there, we absolutely will be working on this tomorrow. It will be in your hands as soon as possible.
Yeah, I wonder though, it may be something, I'm just trying to save you some anguish or work on it, Jeremiah. It may be something that we need to come up with that's more standardized, that's kind of goes along with the application, and it's almost like the performance agreement is there. And it's something, and I'm with Austin, I don't want to make it too convoluted and too complicated for somebody to do an application, and especially for the tracking purposes. If we have too many things we're trying to track, and we got to be careful. Like, what if somebody outperforms what they put in their application, and then said, "Well, I could have actually qualified for more." So I think there's definitely some discussion we need to have internally. So I don't want to put you off. But do you have an idea on your timing of whenever you'd like to start these improvements?
Fair enough. Actually, to Mr. Feltzy's question, construction has started. It has been approved. We are using a construction company located in San Antonio called MedTech. They often work with medical offices like this.
Okay.
This is not their first project. They've actually worked amongst other offices that I know and have worked at. So more to the question of the address and all that, my wife and I have been members of Helotes in San Antonio for about 12 years since I moved down here. Often our address ended in 78023. We are very excited to become part of this city and continue supporting it and its growth and all that fun stuff. But yes, we have indeed started construction. More to your point again is April 1st was what we received earlier this morning. We were hoping more for March, but
As far as completion?
Yep.
Jeff, remind me of what you know on the program itself. Was if construction actually got completed there, you couldn't post.
We reimbursed after they received their C of O.
Right, but I guess,
if construction could be started as long as the application had been submitted.
Okay.
And in my eyes, the application has been submitted.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
now we're trying to change the application.
Yeah.
But he followed what was the protocol that we had laid out before he started the construction. I don't think we need to delay this indefinitely. I think we need to maybe delay it until next month, but I would not say indefinitely.
Yeah, to be clear on that point, the use of the word indefinitely is a technical phrase. it really just simply means until put back on the agenda to come back. So,
Okay.
yes, and so also, as it relates to performance factors, as stated earlier, as I was doing my research, I did find that this body of leaders has I think it was a targeted business
Right.
incentive that does have some performance factors that's listed in that. So it's not a new concept overall.
Okay.
It's just about what is the timing to put that document in place. And that's
And that's a different grant. There's no dollar amount on that grant. This one, if I remember correctly, is capped at 20,000.
that's accurate. Right.
The other one could be,
This is just for improvement.
this is just for tenant improvements is all this was, physical capital improvements. It's not for adding payroll. It can't be used it has to be used for capital investments such as, it can't even be like store fixtures unless they're permanently built in. It had to be, hard construction cost, which if you're doing a finish out is easily going to be over $20,000. Or actually it would have to be over 40 because it's a 1-to-1 match.
So just to clarify though, is what we're talking about is all grants, all incentives
Yes.
have to have some sort of performance. Again, and they can vary from grant to grant.
To be compliant with Texas Local Government Code, any amount of money that an EDC gives to a business has to have a performance agreement contract associated.
And that can
with it.
look different from grant to grant, right?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you, Jeremiah. It sounds like we're gonna need to talk about this some more internally. So it might be next month before we bring this back, and just to prepare you, it may even go into March. I know it's starting to push on your completion date, but we've got ways that we can meet with special meetings if we need to get it. I don't think it's
Well, the good thing about it is yes,
application's in. Yeah.
well, the application is in and he would not even, currently he wouldn't be reimbursed until after it had a CFO completed anyway.
Right.
But it would be, nice to know that you have 20,000 coming.
Yes.
Fair enough.
So,
Yeah.
And the missing document can be found on the City of
No.
Helotes website?
No, it doesn't exist right now. So that's
yeah.
that's
Fair
the
enough.
fun
there is
part.
no document.
It's not on.
We got to create one. Yeah.
Hey.
So this is going to be it's just something we're going to need it. And again, we're not going to try to make this to where it's super difficult on you. But yeah, I see the purposes of it, and so it just needs to happen. Okay.
I
So
appreciate the opportunity to
yeah.
speak. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
So do we just clarify on the motion then? Are we saying until February or indefinitely? What is the word?
So
The motion is for indefinitely.
right.
Yeah,
That could be-
the term is technically postponed indefinitely, but we can decide that this would be placed on the February agenda.
Okay.
It doesn't
Or
really
special or
mean
whatever.
it's, never going to be discussed again.
Right.
That would be, so
We
that
want to expedite the decision.
would be the preferable approach as opposed to putting a
Yes.
specific date. Is that right?
Right. Because then if we get everything in place by the time that we need to post the February agenda, we can literally post it on that day.
So we have a motion and a second.
A motion and second for postponement. So do we have any further discussion? Greg, anything on your end?
No, I think we need to just discuss what we're gonna put in this document, but I do want it to be for tenant improvement, not goal-based. Is to try and help around with these businesses.
Right. Yeah, and I think we can kind of word the document however we need to, and there's probably tons of examples out there especially if it's Texas law. So all right. So with that, I will now take a vote for postponement. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. So we are postponed until we post it otherwise. Thank you all for coming. All right. So this will probably play all the way into our next item, which is discussion of an action on approval of an application made by Ranch Roots Market LLC to qualify for a grant reimbursement request under e-commerce accelerator incentive program. So I will now entertain a motion for discussion and action.
It's the same thing.
Chair.
Same.
I have to make a motion to postpone indefinitely
Okay,
with a goal of revisiting this application at our February meeting with the addition of a contract that outlines specific performance measurements
okay.
tied to the grant funding.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. So yeah, this is another grant, different grant from the one we just previously discussed as far as the retail and commercial tenant improvement grant. This is the e-commerce accelerator incentive program. So for those that don't know, the e-commerce is more related to improvements to your website so that you can do business online, which we know is a lot of the ways business is done nowadays. And so this is specifically there to help businesses that aren't so tech savvy, to help them get help from IT professionals in getting their e-commerce program set up. On this one, Henry, I do not know of a specific scoring system, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. There is,
Yeah.
I was unable to locate a scoring system inside the program that we have for that category.
Okay.
And the applicant is also here.
Okay. It'd be good, I think, for the applicant to come up just in case we don't have time to, it'd be good to have a discussion about your business. And that way, when we're discussing it, we have some idea of what's going on.
Good evening, everybody. My name is John Lammers. Address is 4137 in Pipe Creek. The address of the business is still fairly new to my mind, but it's 12540 Suite 105 in the Bandera Plaza.
Okay.
I'm here with Mrs. Chrissy DeShane, and our new business is Ranch Roots Market. This is going to be a business that is taking foods from local farmers and making them available to local consumers. And so we're very excited about that. It does require a website, obviously, because integral to the business function, we are having them pre-order the product so that we can turn around and give the orders to the local farmers in time to then fulfill the orders for weekend pickups. So yeah, that's the gist of the business and the need for the website.
Right. This is more just a general question of just understanding how obviously we operate in the world of taxes, which, you know, part of the tax dollars goes to the city and part of it goes to the state. Is it kind of like we're at the Amazon, like any orders that come through, let's just say that your business blows up and, you know, you're shipping through the whole state.
We hope so.
Yeah. Does all that tax still stay in Helotes? Is it from the point that somebody orders it, where they order it from on their computers?
Well, because all of the orders are being fulfilled here in Helotes.
Okay.
So everything here at this point, speaking around the state, that would be many, many, many years in the future. I have no idea what the implications of that are, but for the foreseeable future, we're here in Helotes. And so all of the traffic and all of the pickups happen in person at the store in Helotes. So,
Okay. Very good.
Question, this is all food, is that correct?
mostly food. Yes, sir.
Okay, so there's no sales tax on it?
Not on the food items, correct. But in the store itself, we are actually also selling, we're going to be having hot beverages, things like smoothies. My business associate formerly ran the smoothie store in Old Town Helotes. I'm not sure if you remember it, Simply Raw. And so we're kind of bringing back some of those products. All of those items sold in store would be taxable items, as well as certain items that are sold to be eaten there, such as bakery items, certain things like essential oils, any kind of those beauty products or health products, those also carry tax with them.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
but the food from the farmers.
Right, the food's not, okay, I just
Right.
want to verify it wasn't just all food. Not that sales tax is 100% requirement, but that's,
Right.
It plays.
that's how this is funded.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Similarly to the same conversation we just had, this, it's not timing or any fault of your own, what is your timing looking like here, just so we know as we're taking this back and discussing what we need to revise our grants to look like? How are you forecasting your launching of the site and that kind of thing?
Yeah, great question. We are very much needing to open since we're already under lease. And so I kind of have the web guy, holding off and waiting, but he's trying to work on things in the background. Our hope was to open the website to do, just open the doors in sort of a soft launch fashion here very soon. But given the state of the, indefinite tabling of this discussion, I'm hoping that wouldn't impact the decision if I just give them a green light and tell them we got to go ahead and start trying to get the website going. Because otherwise we really can't do business.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. My question or concern would be, I guess, with the discussion of this is we're looking to improve a website and add performance to it and everything like that. Anything we do is going to be a performance because there is no numbers now. So let's say they did go live next week and they start getting base numbers. Are we going to use those base numbers, or are we going to use what was submitted when they did the application?
Well, there are no numbers in the application.
Because there is no website.
There is no, exactly.
There is no website now, but you're talking about a performance. We're talking about, we're going to have to do some kind of performance agreement. So if they do this and they start getting, let's just say 1,000 visitors a day, then are we going to base the performance on the fact that they now have 1,000 visitors a day and they need a 10% improvement?
Well, it wouldn't be website visitors, it would be sales, specifically sales.
Right.
If they, it's not online traffic, but just, the EDC and the business owner would agree on how much in sales tax would they achieve year 1, year 2, year 3. How many jobs would the business create year 1, year 2, year 3, for example?
I guess I have a point of order to ask you, Henry. When was this information discovered that we needed a performance base for these?
Actually, as far as what I was able to find, I saw, again, like I said earlier, I saw that the performance agreement for a different incentive was included. I don't know when it was put together and submitted and executed on.
No, I mean, when did y'all find out that we could not do any actions on these tonight until there is a performance base?
Well, that point of order actually came from Board Member McGowan in her preparation.
When I saw the agenda.
Okay, so you didn't know anything about this until tonight?
No, I have known about the requirement by the Texas law to have these agreements before an EDC grants any money to any business.
Okay, but I guess my question is when did you know about this is my question.
Oh, I've known about the law for quite some time, and I have raised this with the former executive director.
Okay, I guess my question is, this probably should have been brought to the board before the agenda was tonight, because unfortunately, I don't want to say we're wasting these people's time, but they're here tonight and we can't really make an action on their thing, and they're going to have to come back later. If we would have known this ahead of time, we could have delayed it on the agenda and they wouldn't have had to come in for another night. And we could have, the board, we could have had an agenda item on our board to discuss this so that we could have done this instead of, I don't want to say I'm wasting their time. I appreciate them coming out and talking with us, but I don't like the fact that we're having to almost disappoint them, but they're not getting an answer. They're coming and and the first one said that he was sorry he didn't submit something. Well, we didn't have a form that he had to submit, so that was not an error. I think we probably should have, as a board, done this and discussed it and let these people know that these applications were out there, the pending applications. Do we have any other pending applications?
We don't have any other applications in the system.
Okay.
There will be some coming, but we don't have any in the system. So process-wise, if the board is going to require or request that we have a performance agreement in place prior to bringing it to the board for action, then that's fine. It's essentially setting things up so that there can be an executive session that is held to discuss those pieces that would go into a contract or agreement and those type of things. I'm bringing that up just regarding timing.
Right.
It would not be a one and done unless all of those things could happen, submitted, provided back from legal. So it's not the same meeting type of action. So understanding that the motion is to indefinitely postpone, meaning push it to another meeting, gives an opportunity to set up, I'll reach out to our legal team, look for whatever template that we already have. And then I will provide that as a packet item for the board to start considering and evaluating in prep for the next meeting.
Yeah, because I think we need to try to get this done as quick as possible. Because I mean, we've got small businesses that need the money, and this one's a little bit different than the first one. The first one, it's not as critical, I would say, because they can't get anything until they have their CFO anyway. But this is one trying to get off of the ground, and they come in here and we just clipped all the feathers off their wings tonight.
Well, we need to be compliant with the law, and
well, we do need to comply. We do need to be in.
And
obviously
it's
with the
unfortunate
law.
that these agreements were not in place in the past, but
Yeah.
this is my first board meeting with the EDC, and I have an obligation to make the board aware of information that we are legally required.
Right, and I'm not saying that we should throw away the law and not do it. I just think that it could have been brought to the attention of the executive committee so that we could have moved forward with trying to get that on the agenda. Because if we'd have known about it before the agenda was done, we could have had that as an agenda item tonight, and we could have had an executive session and figured out what we need to do. We could have had legal counsel here.
Yeah.
So we could be moving ahead.
So we have an opportunity to make adjustments to the overall program.
Yeah, well, that's what I was
Put
about
it
to say.
in the documents, so it's very plain.
It sounds like we need to have not an overhaul, but just the rewriting of some of our.
Right, and if we'd have known that, we could have had that on the agenda for tonight.
And also we need to be fair to everybody who's put in an application, just because, I know precedence isn't everything, but there has been, we can't treat people unfairly just because they're coming in slightly later unless we have the rules rewritten. So we can figure this out. I think I'm with Jeff, and I think everybody's singing the same song. We want to help as much as possible. We also want to be compliant. So I think we can figure this out. We're just going to have to move quickly on it. And so it's just going to take some of our time, right? It is what it is. But thank you very much for coming in. And so we have you, the motion is for postponement. So the hope is to have you on for February.
All right. Thank you all for your time. Yep.
Yes. All right. So the motion is for postponement from.
Can I ask a question just real quick for expectation wise? So once we get the enhancements that make these grants compliant through the performance expectations or agreements, whatever that looks like, whatever the right verbology would be in that. Is each grant then negotiated one-off with the tenant, or is it more? Because right now it seems like it's not. They fill out application, I get that, but it's more standard issue, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm misrepresenting that. Like, are each one of these, so going forward, once this is all revised and everything, is the expectation that we would each grant have an executive session to work out the specific performance arrangements with?
What I would like, and of course this is a perfect world, is that we have a way that we have kind of I don't want to call it boilerplate, but a boilerplate that says, here's how we're going to set up normal performance agreements for each one of the grants. Because I think we can say, based upon what the scoring system is, and to where whenever they fill in the application, they're basically filling out that agreement as well.
Because I definitely get
The answer ultimately is likely yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that could get cumbersome if we're having to go into executive session for each and every, $5,000 grant.
If, once we do get an executive director though, can they work out the details with the tenant and then bring it to us?
As long as the board is in agreement and or makes whatever adjustments to whatever that starting point is.
That's what I mean. If we have
That
the
decides.
if we have the boilerplate like he's saying, and it says that they have to, I'm just making up numbers here, but they have to have a 50% improvement in sales. And the business says, there's no way we can do 50%. We can do 30%. Can the executive director negotiate that and then bring it to us so that there's not having to be an executive session every time?
Form and
Because an
posting.
executive session is going to take a month, to get, unless we call it emergency meetings to do that. If we have an executive director, can they do that and get that negotiation ahead of time done? And then it comes to us and then we either approve it or deny it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, as far as the background and all of that, the footwork can be done, but again, it is the board that decides, and if that is the direction to the professional staff to do that, that's easily done with the adjustments that are made. So it is process wise, we're able to lean forward in that manner.
I'm just trying to think.
I think so, yes.
Maybe it can be
That's-
streamlined.
Yeah, because you would just have them, yeah. Yes, I think.
It needs to be streamlined ultimately, just to make it easier for a business owner to get in here, get what they need and move on. Yes or no. That way they know and they can plan.
Because, if this was in effect and it was to where we had it negotiated ahead of time, these three items that are the items that are here tonight, this could have already been done ahead of time. And then not necessarily us have to sit here and negotiate it that night. It could have been pre-negotiated and it comes in and says, this is what we've come up with.
Right.
And then it goes to the board to vote on.
Right.
Yes.
And at that point, if there was something that somebody really had a argument point on as far as saying, well, no, I think it should be X amount of employees, then we can make that change at that meeting. Right.
Yep.
So now we're talking about
Agreed.
process.
In open session.
Right.
Right.
Kind of like a lot of things that we do. We say, well, we don't feel comfortable with that number, but this number.
Right.
I think, Mr. Chair, for our city administrator, in your experience, this isn't a cumbersome activity. On an application, if a business is being asked, how many employees do you anticipate hiring the first year, the second year, the third year, and they put numbers down, is there really a lot of back and forth between an EDC and that business?
Well, it doesn't have to be. And so ultimately what we're really talking about is what is the process by which we will put forward so that any applicant would have known expectations and anticipations so that that whole process from the research to submission, most if not all the data is there. And then really it's just about packaging at that point. So again, we have an opportunity to enhance the program from where it is and make the guidance more clear and in line with the intentions of the board.
I have another question too, because we're talking $5,000 for this one, just take for example. And you're talking about years. Would they all be paid out over years or would we have, you said year one, year two, year three?
It depends. I mean, it can be for the first 6 months, the second 6 months, it can be done in a year, but it's not a lump sum payment. It's tied to.
I would hope that we wouldn't go too much farther into the details of program revision.
Yeah.
As opposed to the agenda items.
Sure. Yeah. I think that we just need to have an executive session on it to figure out how simple we can make it. I think that keeping it simple is going to be important because otherwise it's going to be something that's going to be cumbersome on the applicant. It'll be cumbersome on staff. And if you, let's say, I hope, that we had 12 of these programs or 12 of these grants going on at one time. And if we had them all staggered out to where we're tracking, okay, you need to have this by this month, or who's on next up, it could get.
Right, the goal is not to be cumbersome or to make it difficult for small businesses. That is not the goal or the intent with this law at all. It's to make sure that we are investing public funds wisely and that we hope to see a return with that investment. And again, it's the law, and EDCs all across the state are following it.
Okay.
A copy of that statute here for everybody to review.
So we have a
All right.
motion. and a second.
Motion and a second for postponement. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. So now we'll move on to item number 7, discussion, direction, and possible action on creating a temporary policies and procedures subcommittee or assigning a director to develop an HEDC Board of Directors handbook and HEDC board membership application. Establishing a temporary subcommittee, if created, would be disbanded upon completion of the assigned task. So we'll open us up for discussion, direction, and possible action. I need a motion.
Sure. So when I,
Do we have a motion?
I'm sorry, we need a
Yeah,
motion.
motion,
So I'm
motion.
gonna go with Director Sones, and I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay.
So when I was elected to city council and won my race in 2022, one of the first things I received was a handbook for council, mayor and council. And it wasn't long, it was succinct, it was something that the city administrator and city secretary had put together. Not only did I read it, but I referenced it and continue to reference it multiple times. It was really helpful, and one of my intents with involvement is to give this board the tools and resources that you need. And I feel like, and I'm gonna own this as a city council member, that I have failed you and city council giving this board everything that they need. And so it didn't even occur to me that you don't have a similar document to give you just literally, hey, a resource with a table of contents. I have a question about this, or what's the procedure, or performance agreements, And so I really wanted to take the initiative to, with council member McGowan, to create something like this for this board.
Okay.
So I don't know if anybody has any questions, but that is the spirit in which we bring this to this board.
Good. I appreciate that. I think for anybody that's coming in new, I think Austin, you're our newest member up here.
Oh, I'm senior compared to the 2 newest.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be helpful, right? I mean, you kind of drink it from fire hose, trying to figure things out. A reference guy, because I kind of lean over. Mr. Joel, as executive director, I'm sure it'd be helpful. Yeah.
Right. So I think that I like your idea there of not that we need more committees, but with some of these committees actually falling off, I think it's probably a good opportunity to create another committee. So everybody knows, whenever we have committees, in order to not have quorum issues, we usually only have 3 members per committee. So decisions can't be made as far as anything as an action item, but there definitely can be at least something produced that then can come to the board for approval. So
it sounds like if everybody's okay with this document being created, I guess the discussion would be the how. And like most people who come up with good ideas, I don't come up with an idea and create work for other people. I come up with an idea and agree to get on the team to make it happen. But I want the board's direction on how you'd like to handle it. I'm sorry, you were going to say something.
Yeah, we, the how is the big part. We have examples of other board books, basically, from other EDCs, and we've even received a copy from the Shirts EDC, which was very helpful. And they're very similar as far as the content that's included. And I think that the committee could develop an outline and then start building out the book for the full board's review and input and discussion.
Are we is that committee covering everything in this guidebook that you want your current and new directors to have at their immediate disposal for reference.
Let me ask you this, Henry, just because this is a lot of the makings of like whenever we have our strategic planning meetings where we can have an open meeting. We have it, we can actually have it in our new offices now. And something like that, could we actually have I'll call it one meeting where we all sit down, we can make it an open meeting to where we discuss both these grants and the performance agreements and also the handbook all at one time. Is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. A meeting just simply has to meet the posting requirements.
Okay. I think that would be best, just trying to think the best use of everybody's time, just to do it at once, especially we've already got examples. I think we could probably, if we were shared those beforehand, we could all go through them and say, yeah, this probably applies to us and this doesn't. So, so I think that's what of course, I'm open to whatever anybody else's thoughts are on it. I'm just afraid that and this one is not as time sensitive, so I don't want this to drag down the other two, which I think are very time sensitive. This one's not as time sensitive, but again, I'm just trying to think of the fastest way to get there. So, Jeff, thoughts?
I think the work session would be great, especially for the first two. I don't know if this one, I don't know if we need a work session necessarily on this one. It sounds like we got two volunteers that are gung ho and ready to do this, and they got samples. I almost say we turn them loose and let them go and see what they come up with. Maybe and see, let them get the skeleton of it and kind of have, and then maybe we can have a work session so that they kind of have an idea and then we fill in the meat on the bone, so to speak, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, if we already have some basic schematics to go by, start with that and then build out from there to tailor it to the city of Helotes.
Okay.
An experience you've had being on the EDC board of information that you wish you had known when you were new. Those are all the kinds of ideas. I mean, we can have all of our examples from other cities, but I appreciate what you say, that there are things that are unique to Helotes, and that is where we really want to tap.
We're still, we're all still learning.
Right.
Yeah.
We are all still learning.
Like the grant thing to start. I mean,
Yeah, we have hiccups still. I mean, obviously, we've had several that have had to be overcome. And so giving some direction and a clear line of this is what our job is and this is what we're trying to accomplish, I think is very helpful. I know that I've talked to Austin several times in the last few months, just trying to help give him what I know. And I definitely don't know it all, or, in my opinion, I'm learning every day here, every time that we come. So.
And I'm a glutton for punishment, so you can throw me on that in the committee as well, or just to join in. I've got some availability to do it, so I'm happy to put into my.
Thank you for letting me rope you into more work.
Yeah, it's okay. And it's I will tell you from my time, whenever I got thrown into this, which has been over 5 years now, that was very interesting as far as here's your new position, here's what you're gonna do. So. Yeah, having a book would have been nice, or having some type of guide. So I think that the direction, I don't think we need to actually take action on it, unless you all want to create an official committee. But does it, if we're meeting separately on this, does there have to be a committee created on this?
Committee does not have to be created. However, if you all are looking to set, let's say, like the 3 people specifically, and to name them, if that's what you want to do, then like you've done other committees. Only thing is, like with committees overall, no final decisions are made by committee.
Yeah.
Well, so we have the motion right now is to discuss and possibly take action on this. So does she need to amend her motion, or do we need to come up with another motion to actually create?
Well, so if the goal is to create, literally, we can take the vote. You can amend your motion to identify members if that is your goal.
Yeah, the only thing I'm a little hesitant on identifying members is because it may be good for it to be kind of, everybody get the kind of their input into it, and not just me.
Well, so if that's the goal, then it sounds like a meeting as opposed to a.
I got you. That's right. Then you get a walking quorum. I got you. Okay. Then I guess it has to be me.
But it can be dissolved at any time. So
Yeah.
it could literally be created.
Okay.
Put a skeleton together, be dissolved, be discussed, recreated, discussed again. I mean, it's an open-ended thing, so.
The committee could do the skeleton of it, and then we have a work session that you bring back to everybody else,
Right.
which is then posted. And we can, right, because we post our work sessions.
Absolutely.
And then we can give you all some direction to go back and tweak how we, or add what we, is that making sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Not that I'm trying to get the other four of us out of.
No,
But-
because
Joel actually wants to be
But I think the three people could be more efficient to bring something. I think if we get the three people that bring us something is gonna be more efficient than the seven or the five of us
Yeah.
sitting up there.
I agree, Jeff. And it keeps us out of any quorum issues or walking quorum. So it's the way it has to happen. So with that.
Before we end discussion, I was also, did not read the whole agenda item. It's not just the Board of Directors handbook, it's also the Board of Members application.
Okay.
So I didn't highlight that, so I wanted to make sure that's clear before we move forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good to look at the application. It's kind of been there, the same one for years.
It's a generic one for the city.
Yeah, right. So I think.
And
it's
as you're
probably-
putting the book together, you can kind of help build the application.
Yeah.
They kind of are tied together.
And that was our thought, to have some kind of description about what a board member is responsible for doing with the application. So it's not just generic, because this is a unique organization.
I
to
think
the other
this would be
boards and
wonderful.
commissions.
That way also quit calling us and asking us how stuff works.
So you're sure you don't want to volunteer to be on this committee?
I don't have time.
Joel wants to be-
I honestly
on the
don't.
time
Y'all
side.
You got three, and I honestly do not have the time.
I'm giving you a hard
Yeah,
time.
I would love to, but in case you forgot, it's stock show season, so you're lucky to see me till March.
So board member Sums.
Reservations
and
only.
Board
Exactly.
member McGowan are willing to rescind their motion at second and restate.
Okay, so now restate your motion exactly what we're
Oh,
doing. Jen.
Did you
Oh.
rescind?
Oh,
I do rescind, yes.
I rescind.
okay. So Jen,
So I move that we, on agenda item number 7, create a committee with members, Director Soames, Director McGowan, and Chairman Lopez to create a HEDC Board of Directors handbook and a HEDC board member application. Is that enough? I
yes,
could go into more detail, but
No,
I think
I
that's
think
enough.
that's fine. You named all the directors and you named what we're doing. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. All right, so now we will be going into closed session in accordance with Texas Government Code 551.074 personnel matters. In addition to the matters listed below, any matter scheduled for open session may be discussed in closed session. So y'all know the order this will go in. We'll go into closed session to discuss this, and then we'll come back out into open session, which then we have an item for individual consideration directly tied to that closed session.
Current time, please.
The current time is 8:04.
I am
All microphones unmuted.
Okay. All right. It is now 8:26 and we are now back in open session. And we are on our last item for individual consideration, item number 9. Discussion of an action on matters discussed in closed session relating to all reassignments, duties of City Helotes employees for taking on temporary additional responsibilities until the position of City Helotes Economic Development Corporation Executive Director is filled. And that the said reassignment term shall require approval by the city administrator. So I will entertain a motion for discussion and action.
I move that we reimburse the city for the temporary reassignment of said employees up to 100 hours per month at a rate of $35 per hour until we find a permanent executive director and the transition period has been completed.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Any discussion, further discussion? All right. Without further discussion, I will take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. All right, so that concludes our items for individual consideration. So we now move on to staff report. Henry, you're up.
All right, thank you, sir, and all board members. By way of staff report, I'm glad to tell you that related to the duties and responsibilities of the professional staff, the executive director for the EDC, the hunt is still on and very active. Part of the duties of the executive director includes things like the operation of the business center, where leases or adding members to that business center would occur. One such example is to show and to perform leases and updates regarding the activities over there, which I've been fulfilling. And so getting the victories of adding another or 2 members to that business center is one of those types of duties. And the other duties will include and have included things like working with the post office to make sure all the assignments of the postal codes and the delivery, all of those type of things. We have an opportunity, as prior discussion, for this person to make updates to programs and procedures in conjunction with the professionals, with the board members. So we have 19 applicants that came in. We closed the applicant opportunity at the 6th of January, 2025. We have interviewed 5 candidates so far. All of the candidates that have been interviewed were great. We do have an opportunity on Tuesday, is our intention, to conduct the final engagement with the candidates that are at the top of the pool. And we're hoping that we have somebody that's ready to come in the month of February. All of the candidates minus 1 that we interviewed would be available potentially in the month of February. So I'm very, very excited to share that news with you. And I hope that we land on the perfect person. Also, that really doesn't exist.
Yes, and I think everybody appears aware that the appointment for the director will come from the mayor, but we've actually had the interview process has been with the mayor, members of council, and members of this board. So it's kind of had good input from all sides, which we very much appreciate being involved in that process.
And every candidate understands or has been informed of the structure regarding that to some degree or another.
Okay. Good.
Can I ask some questions?
Certainly.
Since you've been running the business center and you mentioned the post office, did they finally get to where we're gonna have our numbers for each individual suite? Were you able to get that? Is that worked out, or is that still in progress?
My hope is that I'm able to have another conversation with the postmaster on this week.
Okay.
So, but I think I have all the documents in place. I just need to make sure I show it to the post.
And I know that we had I think we approved ordering a mailbox.
We did that.
Do you?
The next person will, physically, the mailbox is waiting on the next person and or me to install it once the confirmations are done.
So is it already cut?
Do we have it?
Do you have it?
It's in place. It's in the building.
Okay, perfect. That's
We
perfect.
got a mailbox, yeah.
We got the mailbox.
Yeah, we had one applicant that actually just wanted a spot in the mailbox, just to have the Helotes address, but since we're limited on space, we always talked about that it would be kind of an incentive for somebody actually leasing within in the business center, that they would be the ones. that get
Priority.
to get the mailbox space. So, so good. Yeah, it's exciting to actually get the mailboxes up and running. I think it's very important for those businesses that are there to have that physical ability to get mail at their office.
That's ideal.
I think it's gonna be good. So thank you. I know I've said it before, but thank you for everything you've done on it, Henry. I mean, I know you've been working hard on a lot of different aspects of what is not outside your normal duties. So really do appreciate it. All right. So with that, we are at the end of our agenda. So it is 8:33. We are now adjourned.
It was-